All right, excellent. Well, I thank everyone for jumping in. Before, I think this is important that we think about what we're thankful for. And one of the things I want to share with you is a tool that I learned. Is called the happiness jar. And what you do is every day you write down something that made you happy every day of the year. And you put it in this jar. And then you read it or you pull it out the next year or when you're feeling down or when you're not happy or whatever the case may be. And there's many variations on how this is used, but this is a wonderful tool to just always reconnect and reposition yourself from taking yourself out of the current moment and then stepping into, wait a minute, you know what? I have a lot to be thankful for in spite of. Now, I'm going to show you a tool that we have, and those of you that's been joining our sessions are familiar with it, but this is the nutrition wheel. For the sake of time tonight, I'm not going to go into it, but I definitely want you to reconnect to the playback. This video, again, is going to be recorded. Similar to the stress wheel and similar to the addressing the stress wheel, there are different pieces of the pie, and these deal with nutrition. What you're going to do is you're going to fill out your pie and fill out this circle. You're going to rate each area from 1 to 10 on how well you're pleased with these areas to address nutrition in your life. For example, meal planning, or what's your relationship to comfort food? What's your relationship to hydration? Are you drinking enough water? Believe it or not, there's scientific research that shows the impact of drinking water and how much you drink and how it plays an ultimate part to your health and strength. As you're shifting and thinking about your nutrition, what's your energy levels? When I started, prior to me working out and start getting on a regular regimen, my energy levels were low. I peaked out earlier in the day. And when I shifted my diet and shifted my nutritional standpoint, I was able to increase my energy. So these different areas of the pie, you're going to fill out. And the whole purpose, similar to the stress wheel and all these other things, is to gain knowledge and to gain insight about yourself. So just for a quick second, I want you to take one piece of the pie out of all of these categories. And what is one area in this nutrition wheel that when I put it up and listed all of these different items that jumped out at you, that was calling your name, that says, you know what, that's speaking to me. Like, for example, I probably would be doing better if I was meal planning or planning my meals. That may have jumped out at you. Thank you. So this is the nutrition wheel. As you're looking at the different areas, as I mentioned earlier, what jumps out to you in relationship to this particular pie? And your current relationship to nutrition. And I'll allow anyone to jump off of mute to share.
Environmental jumps out to me, and I would say because I'm trying to find other alternatives right now, just from a nutrition perspective and activity, to adjust, being inside and things like that, but still doing the things I need to do to make sure that I'm following some type of guidelines on keeping my nutrition and my activity.
Okay, thank you for sharing. That's important. Anyone else?
So energy is one that stands out to me, being that I'm a nurse at a very busy hospital. I'm over one of the COVID-19 units, which is the same as coronavirus, as most people know. But there are times that we skip meals. A lot of nurses skip meals just because we don't have the time. And so there are times when my energy is not where it needs to be. I know why, but it's working on making sure that I stop and take time for myself to eat meals and eat them regularly, like most people do. Nurses just have a bad habit of doing that, just skipping meals. So energy was the one that stands out to me the most.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And it's important. All of these wheels that we've been doing, as well as this nutrition meal wheel, the whole purpose is for insight and awareness. Because once you know, then you can address it. And then what's impacting or what is on the back end. So really digging deep in. So again, I want you to reconnect to this video and this chart. If you want me to, I can send it to you directly. And this, again, will give you a clarity over your approach to nutrition. For the sake of time, we're going to jump into our experts, and we're going to allow opportunity and space for them to come and answer questions as relates to all these different things that impact our nutrition. All right. So, Bryce, we have Gregory who's on the phone, calling us from on the phone. I'm going to take you off mute, Gregory. Actually, I'm going to take all of my hosts or guests off of mute so that y'all can jump in and share.
Okay, there we go.
There you go. And Gregory. All right. So, Gregory, you deal with specialized in behavior therapy. So, what have you noticed as it relates to just identifying when stress comes and how to? I guess my question is, how do you first become aware from the work that you've been doing? A lot of times, people don't even know when they get to a point of stress.
Right. I think one of the things that really helps identify when, first of all, I say it's great to be here with you tonight. One of the things that helps you identify that you're dealing with stress is when things that normally would not bother you begin to bother you. When your behavior begins to change, and most times I think that one of the things I've experienced that people will say is that people around them notice that their behavior began to change. Different things that that didn't bother them began to bother them. So I think, and then it also relates to what you said about what you're eating. Also, it relates to how you're thinking, your thought patterns. Are you lethargic? Are you become depressed? Are you how are you feeling? Are you moving away from people? How do you deal with normal everyday things? So when your behavior begins to change, that's when you really, really know it. But you have to spend that time. You have to also spend time by yourself to really stay in touch and stay in tune to your feelings. But sometimes we become so busy with our everyday lives that we lose focus. So when you begin to get off focus and things begin to unravel in your life, that's when I feel like you really know you're dealing with stress and anxiety.
Yeah, and I think that's so important is, again, that a sense of awareness. For example, a lot of times I've had people reach out to me even recently, and they said, I just can't stop eating, which is, it's like every time I turn around, I'm going to the refrigerator. That could be a sign that you're dealing with stress and you're compensating with eating. Or you work with a lot of people with behaviors. What's some other behaviors that you notice spawn out of stress and anxiety with the people that you've worked with?
Eating, like I said, overeating. Some people don't eat. And then some people, they kind of push away from others. They isolate themselves from others. Different things that they used to do for fun, they don't do anymore. They rather stay by themselves. So there's different things that I've seen and I've experienced and I've heard from people when they're dealing with anxiety. Some people spend money. Some people's behavior just totally changes. It depends on what it is. They might do things they've never done. Some people spiral out of control. Some people withdraw. So those are some of the things I've noticed.
Yeah, thank you, Bryce. And feel free if you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat, or feel free to come off mute and ask your questions as well. So, you've been a health coach. Everyone saw your picture and so forth, and seeing that you competed professionally and so forth. In working with clients and definitely thinking about this time, what's some things that you noticed with working out and the relationship to stress and anxiety, just from your standpoint?
Well, I can tell you, especially from a stress relief standpoint, it's like now that I'm much older. Like I said, I've probably been working out consistently since my early teens. But I can tell now as an adult, the stress relief factor is just as important as far as the aesthetic effects that we get from working out. But I never realized that even though you could be actually working out on your job. I have a physical job. I'm actually on my feet for the majority of the day, so I do get cardiovascular workout, but still I don't get the stress relief. And I think it's important for people to find out what it is that they can do that can really relieve the stress. For me personally, I know that hitting the weights, to me, I feel like I can maximize my time the best with that. I don't have to work out for a long time. I can go in there 30 to 45 minutes and knock it out. But with the COVID-19, things have changed. So I think now, as far as like our workouts, they're even more crucial than they were before, because you can actually feel it in the air. The world has changed forever from this point. So you really have to do what you can to really keep that stress down, because there's so much unpredictability, uncertainty going on right now. But what I found is trying to have some type of routine, and even if you're not doing full-fledged workouts, you can always hit the floor and do a set of push-ups, and any little thing is still a workout. And even though, I think some people feel like unless you're actually going to the gym and you just break a sweat, but you have to start somewhere, and sometimes a little bit will beat nothing every time.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back to that. Hold on to that thought, because I want to ask you about some practical things that we can do at home to exercise and to keep ourselves moving. Katrina, jumping to you real quickly. From a health perspective, what's the relationship to stress, and what you're noticing as relates to anxiety, and how that's having an impact, or how it can impact our overall health?
So I think overall what we're seeing is kind of what some of the guests have already spoken about. So we're in a pandemic, and it is very, very serious. It's affecting a lot of people and in different ways. And so dealing with health and nutrition, I think the biggest thing is that a lot of people are home right now. They're working from home. People are consuming more and more food that is not as healthy for them. And so it is very important that we eat foods that really boost our immune system. And so a lot of people have talked to me, are saying things on Facebook or just about them eating just all the time foods that they've never eaten before, that they know are unhealthy, but that's a sign of stress. And that's what people do. They eat in sugar, and cookies and ice cream seems to be the go-to thing right now because it's comfort food. And so people are at home and they're just consuming so much of the things, like I said, in the past they would never have consumed. Or when you're running and going to work and driving, those are things that you may not reach for, but now people are reaching for those things that are just not building their immune system. And it is a problem because some of the comorbidities and the things that we're seeing that a lot of especially African Americans have with diabetes and high blood pressure, those are the issues that we're seeing where people are able to contract COVID-19 more easily and more readily than other people. And so we are seeing a lot of that at the hospital, where people are coming in and they have those comorbidities, and it can be very devastating. So we all need to be very aware of what we're eating and how much we're consuming of it to kind of stay out of that realm.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I want to jump to Gregory. And I know you have to leave very shortly. And just for everyone that's on, Gregory hosts a radio show every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. And he can
Yes.
tell you more about it real quickly. But working with patients, if you know that someone is really dealing with stress and anxiety, what would be your first go-to recommendation to say, this is probably something that you might need to do or put in place to address that stress and anxiety in your life?
You know, one of the things I think that is important is that you find a place where you feel at peace, a place where you feel, I call it that some people say Zen. I'm not, but you find that place, that secret place, that quiet place where you feel safe. And I say, don't be afraid to face what you're feeling and be honest about what you're feeling, because you're not going to be able to move beyond that if you're not willing to admit what the issue is. So find that place where you can meditate. For those who pray, you can pray. You can read. That just a place where you can find that peace. But you have to deal with whatever that issue is, and not be afraid to deal with it, but deal with it so you can make a decision to process through it and begin to make some changes. But you have to, first of all, admit what the issue is and be willing to deal with it.
Yeah, I think that's really good. One of the things that we teach, and Karen, thank you for being a part, but we're in the same training program with Coach Training EDU. And one of the pieces that we talk about is mindfulness moments. Being mindful is being cognizant, being aware, but also having a mindfulness moment, as Gregory was just talking about, getting into a place and identifying what is actually going on, recognizing, listen, this is not normal. The quickest way is to think about, what were you doing pre-COVID, pre-pandemic? And you're thinking about, what is your life now? As Katrina just talked about, are you grabbing more cookies? Maybe you do recreational marijuana. I don't have any problems if that's what you do, but maybe you have noticed an increase in how much you're actually smoking. That's typically a sign that there's something else going on. So it's a sense of awareness that something has shifted. And then doing some reflection on what's really the cause of that and what's happening. Gregory, I know you have to leave, but is there any other advice that you can give to us, or is there anyone else that has any questions for Gregory before he leaves? And just to let you know, he deals with addictive behaviors, a therapist that deals with addictive behaviors, from drugs as well as to the simplest things. So feel free to ask any questions. And again, this is an environment, we're just friends having a conversation. And you can put them in the chat, or you can come off mute. But Gregory, what is another piece of advice that you would like to share?
I would say this also: breathing exercises help as well. And so sometimes if you just breathe in, breathe out, play some nice music, breathe in, breathe out. Act like, imagine that you're breathing positivity and releasing the negativity. Visualization helps as well. So if you have a nice picture or something that some people might need to touch something or roll something in their hands or something like that, and just breathe in, breathe out. Just basically finding that spot, that place, and then be willing to do something. If you stay put, if you don't do something, then more than likely sometimes people stay in the stress and anxiety. Do something, work through it. Don't just stop.
Yeah, and one of the powerful things is also too is, and those of you that were not on the session last week, the therapist that was there, she gave us a lot of different breathing exercises that we can participate in. Gregory, if there's not any questions for you, thank you again for joining. I'm going to load out on Katrina and Bryce right now and get all their good expertise. But if there's not anything, anyone don't have a question, for Gregory, then I want to tell you again, thank you for joining us on our session tonight. He got to get ready.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
God bless you.
All right. So, jumping back in, Katrina and Bryce. So, if you could give us one piece of advice, if you knew that we were dealing with, maybe let's talk about it from the standpoint of, I recognize I've taken some time out. I recognize I got some issues going on. I'm stressed. I realize that this is affecting me more so than anything. From a nutritional standpoint and a health standpoint, Katrina, what's your first piece of advice? Bryce, for you, from a fitness coach standpoint, what's your first piece of advice that you would give to us?
So I would say be aware of what you're eating. So when it comes to nutrition, people would be so surprised to find out how much they're eating and what they're eating. There are a lot of people that are just not aware of what they're consuming. So I tell people during this time, maybe have a food diary, so that every time, maybe a note card on the refrigerator, every time you go into the refrigerator, jot down a note. I ate this, I ate that. I think just people are just, when there's a lot of stress and anxiety, you're just not aware. And at the end of the day, maybe take that notepad or take that whatever you wrote on, look over that and just see, because I think the biggest thing is that people are just not aware of what they're eating. And then the other thing I would say is those foods that that are high in carbohydrates and high in fat and full of sugar, put those behind. First of all, you shouldn't buy them. But if you're going to have them, put them in a cabinet where they're closed up. Fruits and vegetables, get some type of pretty bowl or something, put them on the table. Make sure that those items are readily available. So the good items need to be readily available. The bad items and things that we know we don't need to consume a lot of, put those where they're not visible. Because what we tend to do is reach for those things that are visible. And so if you're putting fruit and vegetables on a table or somewhere where they're visible, you're going to reach for those more so than those other items.
Yeah. And those comfort foods, the reason why we go to them, because they release endorphins and they make us happy. And so I would be, it would not serve me to say, get rid of those foods and said, don't do it. Everything in modesty. So when you think about, I really want you to really get the whole concept of what we're going for tonight. Is we're not telling you to stop anything. We have not said don't do anything. What we've said is be aware, insight about you, and then how do I take that and manage that for me? Because it's going to be different for everyone. So I really want you to ask yourself the question now is, what's speaking to me? What's jumping out at me that I know I probably need to address? And then I want you to dedicate some time this weekend really exploring that, because that's going to give you more insight and power into where you need to go than us telling you exactly what to do. All right, Bryce, what you got for us?
Okay, I would kind of get back to what you said. I think it was on the wheel. You spoke about environment. And what I found through competing as a fitness competitor is the structure that everything that I had to have success, it all plays a role and it comes together. So even your home environment, even just like, for example, your car, clutter is the enemy of success. And that's whether you're trying to eat right, for whatever it is that you're trying to do. So I would say on top of cleaning up your environment, I think Katrina had mentioned something about as far as like the food that you have in your environment. One thing that my wife and I did for years is we actually were on the same page, as far as like healthy eating, but we didn't have junk where it was easily that I could get to it. Because to be honest with you, I really don't think that my willpower is any stronger than anyone else. I just know how to set myself up for success, And for example, it's very rare that I would ever drink a Coke, but you put a 6-pack of Coke in my refrigerator, the later I'm up, you know what I mean? And you're watching TV, I want a little something. So it's easy to just go to that refrigerator. But if you got to put on some clothes, jump in your car, go to the store may be closed. You know, a lot of times having to go through something and go that extra mile for something that you really don't need, you know, it really plays a role as far as being able to keep yourself on the straight and narrow. And also, I think when assessing as far as like stress goes and anything health and fitness related, a lot of it is just getting started. And as a personal trainer, I get it all the time. A lot of people they talk about, well, I don't know what to do, you know, and I get that, but you know, it's 2020. We have the internet, and if you truly are trying to get fit, it's a plethora of videos, information, almost to the point of overload. So you may not know where to get started because there's so much. But that's where I kind of getting back to what I was saying earlier. Do something. You know, you're not like, well, I want to join the gym. I want to start working out. This is true, but you can do one set of push-ups before you go to bed tonight. You know, and that may not be that much to somebody who works out, you know, about 4 to 5 days a week. But if you hadn't done anything, you know, to me, that's a feather in your cap because you've actually done something physically that's good for you. And when you get that heart rate up, you know, you feel the chest muscles start to pump up a little bit. You know, it makes it a little bit easier to commit to making it a habit and doing the little things that you can. But definitely, you know, the environment, I think that was huge. It makes me think about when we first got married, one of my friends would come over and they'd be disappointed because all we had was water. You know, that's it. You know, and you want something to drink, we got hot and cold. You know, you got
water. We got water.
got water. That Georgia punch, my friend.
Yeah.
But then you get used to drinking water, and even now to this point, you know, we had some friends over there had a bunch of drinks left over. It sat up in there for months, and my kids don't even fool with it because that's not our normal. Our normal is water, and that's what, you know. And I know in order to set myself up to win, even if I do buy a snack, don't get the multi-pack. You know, don't get the gigantic bag of chips. Get your individual portion or get one, and when it's gone, it's gone.
Right. Yeah. And that's key. Really, just it's self-awareness and knowing yourself and knowing, you know, what's your triggers, what's your moment. So really, if you really want to do anything this week, is just create a journal, like Katrina said, and just notice, be more aware what you're eating. When are those times that you go and want to eat? Because those really tell you, okay, in these times, this is where I'm feeling the pressure more so than any other, and this is my go-to. And so really self-awareness. Listen, Bryce, I hear you working out, you know, show everybody your pictures and all that other good stuff. We know you cut and all that other stuff. But listen, I'm just not starting. I don't know where to go, what to do. Gyms are closed. I don't have any weights. What's some practical things that we can do at home to get just simply moving and exercise? Don't ask me. I'm not doing the 100 push-up challenge. I'm not ready for that. That's not what I'm ready for. So what are some practical things? Now, just to be perfectly honest with you, I've just ran my first 5K, so I do exercise and run.
Okay. I got you.
I'm not totally out of it, but just in general, for someone that says, I'm just not starting, I don't know what to do, I don't have any, working out, that's too far-fetched. What can I do?
Okay. Number one, I would say now that we have the technology, I would say definitely they need to find a workout that's something that's not gonna be too much, you know, because like you got the what was it, the Insanity, you know, workout, and that's great and it does work, but I mean, most people ain't gonna be up for that, you know. That's because I've even and I remember watching the video, and I'm in decent shape and doing one and finding myself breathing kind of hard, you know. That can be real intimidating to somebody you already out of shape, and then you get to doing, you know, they talk about 20 burpees, and that's at the beginning of the workout. So I would say number one, find something within your time frame. I would suggest they have like several videos on YouTube, like maybe like a 5-minute workout, to where you and it shows stuff where you can do just body weights. It's not long, and it does something that basically it'll get your heart rate up. But to be honest with you, with any type of workout, I think the problem is my clients, they really kind of focus on the workout too much itself. And what I'm saying is, it's like, well, I need to I want to get my chest like this, I want to drop this, and you really looking at the details of the workout. When the truth is, all the exercise works. I don't care if you do Tybo, uh, CrossFit, like you said, you just finished a 5K, all of it works. But the main thing is you need to commit to do something. You need to focus on creating the habit. And that 5-minute workout is excellent for creating that habit because it's not that long. And even if you are intimidated, you can do it in the privacy of your own home, so you're not at a gym looking foolish. And then it's 5 minutes. Now, come on, that's not intimidating. Like, shit, I can do 5 minutes. And then you start with that 5 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna do it maybe at least 3 times a week. And then of course, and then I hear some people may be thinking, oh, but 3 times a week, shoot, it's only 5 minutes. You can do that 7 days a week. But remember, we're focused on having the little wins first, because you can eventually get up to 6 days a week. But how you gonna jump to 6 and you ain't even at 1? So we got to crawl before we walk. We need to get some type of commitment, and with those little bits of success, that's what really is gonna get you there. And what I found is, like, even with like I said, I've been meatless for 5 years, and I didn't do that all at one time. I stopped eating the beef, kind of phased out my pork, and then I was down to just chicken and fish, and then I transitioned into meatless, and it still was rough, and I took my time, but getting it back to fitness, focus on creating the habit and not so much on the what, because you could, like, I'm a weights guy. Right now I can't really get to some weights. I just bought me like some 20-pound dumbbells, but it's still something I can do. I can knock out some push-ups, do what you can do, things that you can control. Start maybe 2 to 3 times a week. Doesn't sound like much, but you're starting, and once you create the habit, that's what sustained me from my teens to age 45. It wasn't so much on exactly what it was I was doing. That the habit had been in me, and it's hard to shake that off when you're used to doing some type of physical activity. And once you kind of get back to it, when you create that habit, now you're on your way.
Okay, that sounds good. And remember, it just started. You just got to, as Bryce said, you just got to start and do something. Get up off the couch and do something, even if it's just walking. Something, taking some time out and do that. So there's a question that I want to pose to everyone: is what are you learning about yourself in this moment? What is speaking to you at this moment? Because there's been a lot of information that's gone out, but you have to connect to what's really speaking to you, and what that's going to cause the lasting impact. What changes do you feel like you need to make? What areas can you improve on? Those are all overarching questions I really want you to think about, even as you go through. Are there any questions? I want to make sure, because this is not about, I wanted to start off with some questions that would be general, but what questions do the participants, those of you that's with us, are there any questions that you have? So, Katrina, let me, while they're thinking, let me ask you about this. It's been put out that zinc is a good source to, and a friend of mine that's also a nurse said zinc lozenges or something like that will help. You talked about boosting your immune system. Talk about some of those things that we can do to help boost our immune system.
So there is a lot of talk about zinc right now, and I'm in total agreement with it. But I just think overall, minerals and vitamins, and as much as we can get those from healthy food, it's just important right now. I think we should. I know zinc has been singled out, but I just think we should all be trying to consume more fruits and vegetables. We know that those are healthy for us. We need more vitamins and minerals in our body. And so when we're talking about our immune system, I know a lot of people take vitamins and do different things. I just think overall, eating the right things, which is benefit us greatly. And as the other speaker was saying about the beef and pork, we know those are things that are, especially for African Americans, those things are just not the best for our bodies. And so if we can kind of start decreasing those until we can get to a place where we're done with those. But I know right now we're talking about balance and not stopping anything, but I think less beef and pork, less red meat, and more fruits and vegetables. I think that is just the way to go. And you spoke about earlier drinking water. Like a lot of people are at home, and I'm just shocked to hear some of the people say, some of my friends say, I haven't had water today. You know, they're drinking Kool-Aid and soda and apple juice or whatever's in the refrigerator, and we're forgetting about water. Now, if we were at work, a lot of us have a routine where we drink a certain amount of water and things like that. But even though we are home, we're still expending energy. So we actually do need to make sure that we're drinking water. It's great to have lemon in your water and other things, and fruit. Some people add fruit and things to their water, but drinking water is very important right now, and we can't forget that.
That's so vital. And one of the things too in the exploration is look for things to replace. So if you are having difficulty with shifting from sodas to drinking water, then you can get the little packets of water flavoring. I'm not saying that you should consume those all the time, but they are a good transition to coming off of sodas. Sodas are not good, period. They're just too much sugar in them, and processed sugar and so forth, even Diet Cokes. But looking for replacements. So one of the things that we talked about that we learned in our coaching is replacing habits. In order to break habits, sometimes we have to replace the habit with something else. So really thinking about what's the habit that I'm trying to break and what can I place into it. Like, for example, if I know that I just have to have something in my mouth, then you may say, well, let me chew gum to satisfy the constant need. Or as we mentioned last week, is I'm eating all the wrong foods, or I'm eating a lot of foods. Well, stack up with what we call free foods. Those are, the lettuces, and those are the nuts, almond nuts and so forth. Now, you can't go crazy with those as well, but those are a lot better than eating chips. Those nuts give you the crunch and all those things that you get from the chips. Also look for things that give you the sense of feeling full, like oatmeal. Those types of things that you have for breakfast and so forth will give you a fuller feel so that you will go longer without just snacking and so forth. So really looking at those things. Any other questions that we have for our experts? Man, y'all have been really awesome tonight with your knowledge and your information.
Yes, I have a question. We were talking about boosting our immune systems, and I'm a post-kidney transplant patient, so I have to be careful with boosting my immune system. Do any of you all have any suggestions on how I can stay safe, but at the same time not increasing my immune system so much that it will attack my graft?
Thank you, Michael. That's a good question.
So you know what, I used to work with the kidney failure patients at the hospital, and I haven't had a lot of work with people who are have transplants. I know a lot of things about Prograf and some of the medications that you take, so I haven't really studied this, but I do know like potassium and certain things were restricted from the renal failure patients. So I don't know if those still apply to you, but what I will say is green leafy vegetables will always, and as I spoke earlier, I would definitely, if I were you, I would consult my doctor, because every clinic, every doctor should have a nutritionist that's working with them, or someone that they can consult. So your diet may look a lot different than ours. I don't want to give you bad advice, but I'm telling you, I know for sure that every clinic, every doctor I've worked with has at least, there's a nutritionist in every healthcare system that can work with you, because your diet will have to really be something selective that you, just for you, because of your health condition. So I would be very careful with that. I know even with renal patients, consuming too much water was a problem. So, we do have to be careful. So I would definitely say to you, definitely contact your doctor, your healthcare team, and make an appointment to speak with the nutritionist, because you will have to have something very tailored to you.
Yeah. Thank you. That was really good. Any other questions?
Thank you, Katrina.
All right. So, Katrina and Bryce, any last words that you want to share with the group? And then I'm going to give you one last piece, and then I'm going to let you go if there's not any other questions.
So the last thing I want to share, and this is so important, I just want y'all to hear me really, really good, because I'm seeing a lot in the grocery stores. I'm seeing a lot around. I know we're all being told to wear masks. Masks are great. Don't get me wrong. If everybody would do it, we would be good. It's not going to happen because everybody won't do it. And that's a problem. But masks are great. But I'm seeing a lot of gloves. And I will tell you all, gloves really prevent people from washing their hands. They think they're very safe. So I would say, I know we're talking about nutrition and a lot of things, but I want to just make everybody aware that hand washing is still the very best defense against any virus and anything that you pick up in the atmosphere. Hand washing is extremely important. And a lot of people think if I wear gloves and I just go and these gloves are all over the place. They're touching themselves. They're touching the grocery cart. They're touching everything. So with COVID-19 being the way that it is, an environment, please just remember, if you don't remember me saying anything else, please remember to wash your hands as often as you can with soap and water, 20 seconds. So you may have to sing the birthday song or do something.
Happy birthday to
There you go, 20 seconds. So if you can make sure that you're washing your hands, consuming your fruits and vegetables, keeping your immune system in a place where you're not open to getting this COVID-19, because it's all around us. So just protect yourselves as much as possible.
Thank you, Katrina. That's wonderful advice. Bryce, what you got for us, man?
Okay, well, since it's primarily focused on managing stress, just want to say that if anybody out there, if you're feeling yourself during these uncertain times, like having anxiety, understand that you are not alone. And even though, like I said, I still manage to exercise pretty regularly, I still feel it. We all feel it. It's, the world has changed. And then, every day, you watch the news, it can scare the mess out of all of us. But just want to encourage them to hang in there, do something, and it will get better. And to tag on what she was saying, wash your hands, do the little things that you can do to keep yourself safe and, the next person. And just because, you may not necessarily be in the group primarily affected that the deaths are coming from, by you washing your hands, staying home, staying away, doing social distancing, you could help another person who may have a compromised immune system. So as a community, if we come together and we all do the little things that we can, we can get through this.
Yeah, sit your tail down and stay at home. That's what you can do, so that I can get out and enjoy this old weather that we're having, and drink and have a good time with my friends. We're all struggling with it, but the more we disobey the distancing rules, the longer it's going to take before we're able to get back into a normal routine. Here's some reset strategies that you see on your screen. Can everyone see that? Some things that you can do to reset. So these are things, I did some research, and these are recommended by therapists as well as people that study stress and anxiety. So some of the things are, if you're dealing with sleeplessness, is creating a consistent bedtime. Cool rooms, make sure it's dark, that it's quiet, and then all devices off 1 hour before bed. I know this is hard. Even as I'm going through this, it's hitting home for me. Definitely, my sleeping patterns have been really off. For those of you, if your difficulty of focusing is a sign of stress and anxiety, so one of the things is reducing the amount of tasks that you're putting before you. Schedule time for the most important task, meaning that prioritizing the most important and those things that's not important, if they get left off to the next day, it's okay. What I do is I color code my task for work, personal, and then even my business. Take a 45-minute break. Every 45 minutes, take a quick break to reset and be kind to yourself. If you don't get it all done, I know some of us are working from home, some of us are not. We have a lot of time, but be kind to yourself. Jobs understand and are know as long as that you're working and doing your thing, they're not going to be stressing too much at this moment. And then limit news consumption. I have cut down on the amount of news that I watch, and the times that I do watch it, it's probably not good for me. So just limit the amount. If you're dealing with forgetfulness, anything relaxing helps the mind relax, and then it opens it up for you to know and remember those things that you want to. Also, do activities that are engaging and focusing. This is even proven to work with people with dementia and all those other things. Puzzles, Sudoku, crafts. All of those things keeps the mind sharp, as well as help with forgetfulness. And then also too is some of the things is just keep a journal right next to you. If you know you're struggling with forgetfulness and our minds are constantly racing, keep a piece of paper, so that as those things come to your mind, you have something right there to write it down. And then this is really important. There's been a spike in domestic as well as child abuse during this time. We're in close quarters, on top of one another. Our irritability is up, as well as our anger. So as all of our experts said today, and as I constantly mention, noticing it and acknowledging it before it turns into anger. Looking for those cues, identifying those cues. You know when your kids are getting to that point, don't allow it to get to full-blown anger. Sometimes you have to temporarily distance yourself and use a calming strategy, meaning a separate room. Say, you know what, I'm gonna take a quick walk. Okay, make it, if you have a family, make the whole family aware of, this is our time, defuse time. We're there. Defuse time. That means everyone goes into their respective corner and no one can talk to anyone, ask them any questions. All of those things will help get us through these critical and challenging times in our lives. So thank you for joining in tonight. I hope this has been helpful.